Today we'll have a few announcements, and we're going to also announce our new EaRTH Center pilot awardees. Very exciting. And then we will have some also more exciting news from the pilot project program. And then we're going to have a little bit more in-depth presentation about our high throughput chemical screening facility and some new items that will be coming out of our integrated health sciences facility core that we're very excited about. So that will be today's agenda. Next slide, Alana. I can't control them, right? Okay, so we are entering into the third year of our P30 Center. So we're, and we've had a lot of great science that we've been supporting. I just want to remind everyone, if you could please include the P30 on your presentations, publications, talks, press releases, and any documents relative to the research. That is very helpful. It shows NIEHS all the amazing work that we've been doing, and it helps provide documentation for us when we go to ask NIH to continue to support the important work that everyone is doing here. So if you need any boilerplate information, you can go to the EaRTH Center website, you can email Lana or the EaRTH Center email, and we will happily give it to you. But please include this important information on all your work and as it relates to environmental health in the EaRTH Center. Next. Okay, so I just want to remind that center members, we have applications for MiniGrants. These are, I think, up to somewhere in the $10,000 to $20,000 range that can be used for EaRTH core services on an ongoing basis. They're based on core service availability. It's available to members. There's more details on the EaRTH Center website, but we'll be featuring 2 of the cores today and some of the services that we have available. And we're in a new fiscal year, so we have services available in all our cores. So I want to just put the link in the text. So if you're interested, please reach out. It's basically free help for you to get your research going related on environmental health related projects. And I am going to turn it over to Diana Laird, who's the Deputy Director and runs our pilot project program, because this is the part where we get to talk about some exciting new research that people will be doing in environmental health. Diana?
Great, thank you. This is the most exciting part of running the pilot core, is getting to announce the winners of our pilot award competition, and no cats were harmed in the formation of this gift. So the first awardee for our regular pilot projects is Paige Bracke. She is a professor in the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics, and she has 2 collaborators or co-investigators, Margaret Wrench, also at UCSF, and Elizabeth Klaus at Yale. And their project is called Exposome Analysis and Glioma Mutational Signatures in Firefighters in the Adult Glioma Study. So congratulations to all for that pilot award. So our second team receiving a pilot award in this cycle is led by Nita Thacker. She is an associate professor in the Department of Medicine at UCSF, and her 2 co-investigators are Rosemary De La Rosa, who's at UC Berkeley, and also at UC Berkeley, Betsy Noth. The title of their project is Characterizing Mobility Patterns to Assess Microenvironment, Air Pollution Exposure, and Associations with Respiratory Symptoms in Adolescents. So congratulations to your team, Nita. And just before we go on to the other category, I just want to say that this is a yearly competition that we have for our EaRTH pilot projects. And our next call for grants will be in September. So if you are thinking about submitting one, please put it on your calendar that the announcements will come out right around the beginning, 1st of September. It's through the RAP website, and you can also find information on the EaRTH website. These are really short applications, it's 2 pages, just plus some other really minor information. We don't require preliminary data, and we really want innovative new projects. So if you have an idea, I suggest that you talk to one of us, talk to one of the cores. It does involve using one of the EaRTH cores. And it's meant to launch people who are already in environmental health research into a new kind of project, or bring in new people from other fields. And it's also meant to be collaborative if that's appropriate. So the second set of announcements that I wanted to make involves a joint set of pilot projects that we have funded with another center. This is the Nutrition Obesity Research Center, or NORC, at UCSF. So this set of pilot projects were for projects on environmental health and metabolism and obesity. And so we have two teams which won these awards. The first is led by Josh Robinson. He's an assistant professor in the Department of OBGYN at UCSF and an EaRTH Center member. And his co-investigators are Dimitri Abramson and Sunil Kulawad. The title of their project is investigating the role of perfluorinated alkylated substances, or PFAS, in diglyceride acyltransferase inhibition and lipid metabolic dysfunction. So congratulations to your team, Josh. It's really great to see these exciting proposals. And our second team that won the joint award is led by Eke Erkin-Kakmak. She is a pediatric advanced research fellow in the UCSF Pediatric Endocrinology Center. And her co-investigator is from UC Berkeley, Ana Maria Mora-Reobach. And the title of their project is Prenatal and Mid-Childhood Exposure to Mixtures of Persistent Organic Pollutants and Cardiometabolic Health in Mexican-American Young Adults from the Chamacos cohort. So congratulations to your teams. And so now I just want to shift and talk about a different kind of award. And this is the Mentored Scientist Award. And we have one awardee from that competition. So this is not quite a pilot project. This is more for nurturing somebody who's young and upcoming in the field. And so this is our Mentored Scientist category. The winner of that is Susan Shen. She is a clinical instructor in the UCSF Department of Psychiatry. And the title of her project is Combinatorial Effects of Smoking-Related Toxicants and Antipsychotics on Cellular Health. So very exciting, and to start that. And so finally, and you're allowed to put your congratulations or applaud on Zoom for these really great applications. And I also just want to say that as we're now in our third round, going into our third year of the center, it's really gratifying to see the diversity of applications that we're getting on different topics. And I'm really learning a lot, and it's really wonderful to see the center grow in the way that it is. So just before finishing, I want to make an announcement of a new kind of proposal that we're offering for the very first time. Thanks, Alana. So we're offering a different kind of grant. This is not a clinical science or a basic science grant. This is actually a community partnership pilot award. And so this award is intended to fund partnership projects where community-based organizations and academic partners at UCSF will work together on some sort of community-initiated project on environmental health and on its research and translation, or its education, or on some outreach aspect. So this will be just one award at $40,000. The applications are due May 27th. And so you have some runway time, and we will be offering 2 informational webinars on April 19th and April 20th, both at noon. You can check the EaRTH website for more information and to register. And just a little bit, and to learn a little bit more about the community organizations that are eligible for this grant. So if you know of organizations or have ideas, please reach out to discuss this. You can, there's a contact on our website, and you will obviously learn a lot more at these webinars. So thank you and congratulations to all of our awardees. And we wish you well on your studies, and know that you can always contact us when there are questions or issues, or if we can support your research in some way.
And we'll be in touch anyway. So we make sure you can include the P30 as part of your amazing findings that you will be having. Also, I just want to say this community-based participatory research project, we're really excited about this. This is the first of this kind of grant. And before, when I was working with the School of Medicine on their strategic plan for community partnerships, we did a very small award program like this, and we got a lot of successful feedback. So please, if you have any ideas on this or are looking at, I'm thinking about doing this, particularly with a community partner, please contact us. Very excited about this. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Fung, who's going to talk about one of the core services that we offer. I would just also reiterate that we have, should you be interested in accessing this core service, we have small pilot seedling funds available to access this core service. And then we'll talk about some new work coming out under the Integrated Health Sciences Facility course. So I'm going to turn over to you, Jennifer.
Okay, great. So can I have the next slide? So basically, our core is to facilitate rapid testing of chemical toxicity in cells and small organisms. So one of the main things that we're trying to do is to develop an environmentally relevant chemical library. For example, at UCSF, we have this SMDC course. So if you needed to do pharmaceutical testing, that's fine, but there's no environmentally relevant chemicals in their collection. So the idea is to build this collection. And the idea is that maybe right now we have about 200 chemicals, and actually we're getting another 200 right now, 200 to 300 chemicals. So by May, I think we're going to have about 500 chemicals that you can look at that are environmentally relevant. That includes things like things related to climate change now. So we put some petrochemicals, there's PFASs, there's bisphenols, a lot of the environmentally relevant things that the government is interested in, for example, regulating. So the other things we offer is some high throughput chemical screening, in vivo chemical screening assays. One is in yeast and others in worms. We could also modify things to do mammalian cell kind of screening. And this is all done in a InCell 6000, and hopefully in a few years we'll also have a Phoenix. But the idea is that you could add chemicals and then screen through various organisms or cells. And then this gives you, the next slide gives you an example of what we can do. Next slide. Okay, so this is a mini ceiling award to Todd Neistel. He was interested in screening for environmental toxicants that affect reproduction in Drosophila. So we helped him develop actually a rapid Drosophila-based fly screen. And the idea is that the flies are exposed to chemicals and then they lay eggs. But you know what is slow about this entire process is the fact that you actually have to count the eggs. And so we provide the screening expertise, the chemical library, and the screen development. So one of the things that we did was to develop a machine learning based automatic Drosophila embryo identification algorithm for him. So now he could screen things fast, and that's no longer the limiting step. So, you know, we could work with you depending on what kind of assay you would like to develop. So you could always talk with us and we could tell you whether or not that is feasible given what we offer. And that's it.
So does that mean you developed this technology so it can be used for any kind of application? So the technology, the machine learning technology can be used for any application in the fruit flies, right?
Right,
Related
exactly.
to egg counting.
Yeah. So you know, recognition is just like image recognition. Like some things are harder to do than others, like the fly embryos. You know, you have to deal with lighting and stuff like that. But everything's unique to whatever your application is. So yeah.
Right. So you can imagine then you can do that for other types of systems. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, we developed it for C. elegans. We did this new one for Drosophila. We can imagine doing it for some. The mammalian cells might be a little difficult depending on what you ask for. For example, if you stain like the Golgi. And then we need to recognize different morphology of the Golgi. That may or may not be harder. It probably is harder, but you know, it's something we could explore. And that could be promoted with the seedling project. You'll get money from the P30 for us to explore doing that for you. So, yeah.
So I think this is me. Hi, everyone. I'm Erin D'Amico. I'm the co-director of the Integrated Health Sciences Facility Core with Dr. Peggy Reynolds. And just to remind you, the IHSFC provides access to resources to help advance the capacity to study environmental exposures and communicate findings. See here on this slide are some key areas that we focus on: study design, analytics, chemical selection, and scientific translation. Next slide. This is our menu of services. This can be found on our EaRTH Center website, but I wanted to point out that we recently expanded our resources slightly. We are now offering IRB consultation and also guidance on proposal strategies. So if you're interested, please check out our website, and there's a link to a form that you can fill out, and then we can be in touch and have a conversation. Next slide. These are just some examples of the projects that we're involved in right now. Obviously, they're pretty diverse and all are using IHSFC services. They've been awarded either seedling funding or RAP grants through the program that Diana just mentioned. Next slide. And then I think I'm going to turn it over to Peggy here.
Okay, thanks. So this is simply designed to be a preview of coming events. We will soon be launching a redlining resource within the EaRTH Center. Redlining, as many of you know, is a shameful legacy of segregation in the United States. It dates back to the 1930s and was linked to the process by which government issued mortgages were being decided. Color-coded maps, this is an example of one, were created to rank the loan worthiness of neighborhoods in over 200 cities in the United States. These neighborhoods were ranked from least risky to most risky for real estate loans. As it turns out, the most risky neighborhoods, coincidentally or not, tended to be neighborhoods where predominantly Black residents lived. Next slide. So the Federal Housing Authority in 1934 created these color-coded maps and created a legend for how these areas were graded. And I have here in bullet points some of the text from that document. Basically, the green areas were considered hotspots for new development, very promising for making loans. Blue areas were, as a rule, already completely developed and very reliable in terms of making real estate loans. The yellow areas, on the other hand, were characterized by, quote here, age, obsolescence, and change of style, expiring restrictions or lack of them, infiltration of a lower grade population, and the presence of influences which increase sales resistance. And finally, the red areas were those neighborhoods that were characterized, and I quote, by detrimental influences in a pronounced degree, in excess of those of the yellow areas, and quote unquote undesirable population or infiltration of it. Racial discrimination in housing, as many of you know, was outlawed in 1968 by the Fair Housing Act, but these initial redlining activities have lasting effects on health and environment across the board. So if I could have the next slide. For those of you who may be fresh air fans, in 2017, just a few years ago, there was a very interesting interview with Terry Gross on a forgotten history of how the US government segregated America. She interviewed, if you go to the next slide, Richard Rothstein for his just newly then published book called The Color of Law. His book in great detail examined the housing policies under this initiative and carefully defined the policy known as redlining. Among the many things he had to say about it is that the segregation of metropolitan areas today leads to the stagnant inequality because families are much less able to be upwardly mobile while they're living in these segregated areas where opportunity is absent. At the bottom of this slide, there is a link to a fascinating YouTube, which Alana, I think, will put in the chat and possibly email to you all, of how this was influenced the East Bay, in particular, a community that you're all familiar with, Piedmont. Have the next slide. So only last month, the New York Times did this very interesting article about a publication from our colleagues at UC Berkeley, who actually took a look at the association between redlining, as you see the redlining map on neighborhood grade from the 1930s, measured and modeled nitrogen dioxide pollution in 2010, and the percent of people of color living in some of the East Bay communities, Berkeley and Oakland. This was a wonderful study and also illustrates how valuable now some of this redlining data may be as we are trying to take a look at several issues about inequalities in exposure and outcome. And if I could have the next slide. So I just want to let you all know, again, this is a preview of coming attractions that we have been working with colleagues in under the auspices of the Population Health and Health Equity Program and in the Dream Lab in my own department on developing historical redlining data to be integrated into the existing UCSF Health Atlas. Next slide. So just by way of background, as many of you know, the UCSF Health Atlas is actually this interactive map of quite a number of variables to explore neighborhood level characteristics and see how they may relate to health. The next slide. There are several domains for the Health Atlas. Looking at health and healthcare, demographic characteristics, socioeconomic characteristics, community, and neighborhood. And if you'll click for the next slide, neighborhood is the domain in which the redlining is, that's fine, go on to it. Redlining will be incorporated. So just FYI, there are, this is a list of all of the communities in California that have historical redlining data. And the Health Atlas is going to be incorporating information for all of them. The next slide is just a map of California where you can see where all of those areas will be are located, which you'll be able to, depending on your interest and study interest, zoom in on and do work. So the next slide is just a zoom in for the Bay Area where you can see similar to those maps from the Berkeley project where the redlining areas are in San Francisco and the East Bay. And next slide. So just in general, this will be designed to present some interesting opportunities for us all, just even visualization to map the social, environmental, and health outcome data with these historically redlined communities, and also to be able to download these data, which are going to be available at the block group level for data analyses or for integration with existing studies. So next slide. I just want to say we're looking forward to hearing from Debbie O, who has managed this project for us. Stay tuned for a future EaRTH Center meeting, and we will be having Debbie come and demonstrate this for you once the site is active, and so you can play around with it. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to also, maybe Peggy, you could talk a little bit about the Health Atlas already has all the data from Cal EnviroScreen, so water pollution, air pollution, toxic and hazardous contaminant waste sites to the extent that they're mapped in that, and pesticide use from the state of California. So we'll be able to overlay the two, or people can do that as per research
Thank you
project.
for adding that. Yes, it's an evolving and valuable resource, and certainly the Health Atlas is already active. We just don't have redlining active yet on it. So feel free, if you're interested, just to go to the Health Atlas and play around with it and see how you might in the future want to incorporate redlining data.
So, Alana, do you want to, oh, thank you for Scarlett for putting the link to the Health Atlas. So we're super excited because we're gonna, do a big announcement about it and make the resource available to anybody out, not just at UCSF can use it. And it can be both environmental health, social determinants of health work. And we think this will be a really important contribution to looking at issues around the research goals around systemic racism. So we're excited that the EaRTH Center has put investment into this project. I wanted to say one thing about the Integrated Health Sciences Facility Core, which if people, just some of the things that we've been doing for researchers on campus is helping them with developing questionnaire data also, and then putting that questionnaire data into REDCap. So we have everything from consultation about how to do study design and IRB submission to, sort of the logistical hands-on practical approaches to putting together the tools so that you can implement a human clinical observational type study. So I just wanted to clarify that. And we're an expert now in IRB review at UCSF Fresno for anybody who's interested in doing research there. That was it, Alana.
Lovely. Okay. Well, I'll just I'll give it a minute. I'm gonna open up the rooms for everybody. Core directors, please just enter your room.